Okay, so this video really is about what I've learnt from coaching other personal trainers over the last 13 years or so. I was actually first asked to coach other PTs by Charles Poliquin back in 2008, and that was after spending a fair amount of time with him on his courses. And he thought I could add value to trainers that he was seeing in this country. And the first guys to come and see me were from Kicks in London, and it kind of grew mainly by word of mouth from there. And I trained a lot of London coaches. I had the coaches from W10, a lot of the coaches from Ultimate Performance, then in the city and in Mayfair come to see me, and then various other coaches from across London, then from across the UK, and then we started to get international visitors from Denmark, Spain, Switzerland, and it grew, and we presented in Spain, we've presented in Australia, in Dubai, but for the most part, it's always been about people visiting us in this little gym in Bath and learning what we do and how we approach both personal and group training. So a key point, number one, is proficiency. Are you proficient in what you're going to coach? Now this is something that I think is extremely important. We approach both personal training and group training like a syllabus. So if we relate it to school, you have lessons in English, in mathematics, in geography, etc. So for instance, weight training is part of our syllabus. Punch Out, or our boxing platform, is a skill-based part of our syllabus. Metcon, the same. Fit, the same, etc. Now we have as coaches to be very proficient in what we're coaching. So that means, it doesn't mean that we're the best in the world at looking a certain way, or we're the best at coaching what we want to get across. Now that means we need to understand the movements and the mechanics involved and how to get that across to the people that we are coaching. For instance, if I had somebody who wanted to learn weightlifting, then I would have certain coaches that I would refer to. People like Adam and Andy, perfect coaches for that. If I have people with certain niggles, then I would refer them to coaches who come to me who are also physiotherapists, like Leo Chu. For powerlifting, without a doubt, I would refer to people like Tom Hamilton at W10, and also for people that want, you know, that physique coaching. Again, Tom's an exceptional coach when it comes to things like that. And then for coaches of people who want to work with people who are very good at your kind of HIIT and your body weight training, people like Pete Garasimo are fantastic for that kind of work. And there are tons and tons of others, but there are just a few that spring to mind. Now, when it comes back to your kind of syllabus, in terms of what you're going to coach, be proficient at it, in terms of be proficient in what you're going to coach. I cannot stress this enough. I see a lot of people who will go off and they'll do a weekend course and they'll get their certificate and they get their t-shirt and they think they're proficient. You are not fucking proficient, okay? You have to then go away and train it. Now, for instance, I coach clubs. It took me a year to get down the first exercise. I didn't coach clubs for probably 5 or 6 years of practicing. Okay, so I've been practicing 5 or 6 years before I started coaching. Now this is very, very prevalent when I look at people coaching boxing work. So I was coaching Thai boxing back in the 90s, okay? I've been training in Thai boxing since I was about 14 years old, 13, 14 years old, and various other martial arts. I started coaching properly back in the 90s, and I coached through to quite an elite standard, where we were taking part in fights all over the UK, and I had guys go on and fight internationally. So therefore, if I coach somebody on the pads or on the bags, I have pedigree to that, and then I've helped people in boxing. When I see people doing this kind of shit, they shouldn't be coaching boxing. They shouldn't be coaching boxing as a fitness platform, because the carryover isn't there. They can't explain what they're doing. So it's very important that if you're going to coach as a professional, then you have standards to meet, both for yourselves and, more importantly, for the people that you're coaching. So it's very important that you understand the mechanics of what you are coaching, and that you can demonstrate to a level where the client can pick up visually what they need to do, okay? I know there's the fun element, which is great, but if you're a professional, you're not going to coach something that you're not proficient in, or that you haven't got proven success in, okay? If you're doing that, you're not being professional, period. Okay, so do think, now that comes back to giving yourself time as a coach to develop. So it's very important. You might have a real passion for wanting to coach a certain aspect, but you need time as a coach to develop yourself, your knowledge, so that you're at a point where you can deliver these things very, very well, and you can actually help the people who are paying you to coach them, okay? Again, if we look at something like Tai Chi, a yin practice, phenomenal. Now, I've been practicing Tai Chi with my coach, Neil, for probably 25, 30 years now. A bit on and off in certain areas, but dedicated practice for the last 7 or 8 years. And when I say dedicated practice, going through the forms daily, day in, day out, remembering them. And I feel comfortable to coach that, although I don't coach it very much. But what I'm doing is I'm laying the foundation for myself so that I can still coach when I get into my more senior years, in something that's going to be applicable to the age group around me as well, okay? So my Tai Chi practice now really is something that I want to go into coaching when I'm in my sort of 60s onwards. But I'm practicing now for that. So that's my kind of future proofing for myself. Your proficiency. So you need to be technically proficient in what you're coaching, okay? Can you practically demonstrate what you want to coach? And can you practically break it down into drills to develop the people you're coaching? Are you passionate about what you're coaching? Or are you just doing it because you think it's going to make you more money or whatever else? You need to be passionate about it. That's if you're going to be a good coach. There's thousands of coaches out there, okay? I've been visited by the best part of 1,000 coaches, probably more actually now. The ones that I truly recommend are going to be a small percentage of that, in terms of that I could really trust to deliver exceptional standards, okay? There'd be a lot that I could recommend, but the real core is going to be quite small. And I would always want to go and study with the people that would be that kind of almost outlier percentage. When we were training with zircone practices from my coach Amir, there were very, very few people really who would understand that. It's become quite vogue now, with people swinging clubs and doing it, you know, like the different press-up exercises and everything else. But 25 years ago, whenever it was I was training and all that stuff, it wasn't heard of. And what I see more and more, people they're doing lots of fancy stuff, but they don't understand the structure or the movement behind it. That's what they come to me for, okay? So again, there's a lot of coaches who really aren't coaching. They're training you, but they're not coaching you. And this is two very, very distinct differences in the leisure industry, okay? There's a lot of trainers out there, they'll train you, but they're not effectively coaching you, okay? If you're gonna have a speciality, so for instance, using boxing as a fitness platform, that's a speciality, okay? So you should be passionate and you should be very motivated to coach that, but look at it as a resource. You, in terms of understand as much as you can and apply yourself to studying more and more about it, understand the mechanics of the body about it. I still study a couple of hours most days on the stuff that I'm coaching, okay? And I'm looking for how can I get more out of a technique, whatever it is. It could be just a bicep curl, but then understanding the anatomy surrounding that, understanding little changes that I can make to feel that exercise more fully, and then how can I break it down to coach it to the people that I'm coaching? What's their level of understanding compared to mine? So how can I meet them here, or ideally meet them even lower so they can pick it up quicker? And that's part of being a coach. Okay, so these are all little things. What I'm often seeing is I'm seeing coaches expecting the people that they're coaching to be on a similar level of understanding, and that's just way off the mark. So it's something that you have to relate to. And this also comes into understanding what we call the 3 priorities at BD, which is your family life, your business life, and your leisure time, okay? Now, if people are highly stressed in their family and business life, their leisure time, they're not going to be very focused when it comes to that. They're going to be turning up and they're going to be training. So you have to simplify the coaching, or have within, especially group training, adequate descents for them to be able to do well and safely within a class environment or within a group environment. So these are all little keys that you want to look at, and I'm sure a lot of you are considering. But again, if you're going to specialize in something, make sure you really, really are passionate about that as a subject, and not just doing it as a revenue stream, okay? Because it'll just lead to frustration for you. Okay, so that's a few little parts that we're considering initially, and we can expand on this massively, which we will do on subsequent videos. Okay?